Hi there, and welcome to One Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald. It's our first show, and we're on the road at Common here on CAS on the campus of Wayne State University in Detroit. We're starting something new at Detroit Public Television. More in-depth reporting, more stories, and more analysis on the issues that matter to all of us. Here's a look at what we're all about. Whatever happens in Detroit happens to all of us. The most exciting part for me about One Detroit is that we're going to focus on doing long-form, in-depth stories.
One Detroit will give us an opportunity to meet people in the neighborhoods and people that you should know.
There's a lot of interesting stories in this community that should be told, a lot of interesting people that should be spotlighted.
It's a type of journalism that we see a lot at the national level, but we don't get to see too much of locally, this kind of short-form documentary.
People are tired, they're scared, they're upset, they don't know where to go and what to do.
Housing, the environment, education, and giving more people a voice. We need to do more of those kind of stories that make people think, and we need to report on the solutions.
Our job isn't just to get the story. Our job is to build relationships that help us get to the facts of the matter.
Local news peddles in human tragedy, and that's something I don't need in my head. I just want to know what's going on with the average person and how it affects me.
People will spend the time watching if the stories matter to them, and I think that's what we're doing.
One Detroit is not always about making the stories I want to see. It's about reporting what's actually going on around us, in Detroit and the whole region.
And there aren't a lot of places where you're taking the time to be able to really concentrate on substance. I see One Detroit as a real evolution of that concept to an even broader vision.
Well, and joining me now is our One Detroit contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News, Stephen Henderson of WDET and American Black Journal on Detroit Public Television. Guys, we're out on the road and a little something new this time around, huh?
Good.
Yeah, so
It'll be
it's
different.
just, yeah, it's different, but I think it's just really the next step in terms of longer form, in-depth reporting.
We are evolving.
Yes, we are evolving a little bit.
And involving more in the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think when we start listening to what people in the community want to see instead of just walking in and saying, this is the story that we're going to be doing, I think that's what kind of changes the perspective a little bit.
Yeah, when you think about what's going on in Detroit right now and all of the things that are changing, you can't really keep track of them without going out and really seeing up close what's happening in this corner of the city, what's happening with this person in that project, or what's not happening. And I think this new format gives us a little more opportunity to go do that and let viewers see for themselves up close what's happening.
And different perspective as well. And we're going to be in Detroit, but we're going to be across the entire area as well, Nolan.
Good, because it's a big region. I mean, this is not any longer clear dividing lines between city and suburbs. I think everybody is now more or less in this together, and there are stories to be told everywhere.
All right, before we get to our big story of the night, and I have the two of you sitting here, we got to talk a little bit about politics, because since we are past Labor Day, we are in full swing in the governor's race, and it feels like, to me, it's maybe not shaping up the way people initially thought it would. Nolan, I'm going to let you get first crack at that.
It's starting off differently than I expected. I thought this would be a neck-and-neck dogfight from start to finish. The polls are indicating that Gretchen Whitmer starts this fall campaign with a pretty good lead over the Attorney General, Bill Schuette. The Real Clear Politics average has it at about 8-9%.
That's still a little surprising to me.
It surprises me because her name recognition remains a lot lower than his, which tells me that Bill Schuette's got a lot of negatives to deal with, and he might want to shift strategy. He has focused heavily on trying to tear her down. I don't think these Granholm Whitmer ads are working. I think they're having a negative, people are having a negative reaction to them. You're seeing that in races all over the country when male candidates go after women hard, it backfires on them. You saw it in the 6th district in Kentucky where an unknown came out to win the Democratic primary there after being attacked heavily. I think he ought to stop and look around and reconsider his strategy.
So what do you think the change has been?
I think the context for this race is now more important than the candidates in a lot of voters' minds, that there is a surge happening for women candidates in particular and for Democratic candidates. If you look at what is going on across the country, the kinds of wins that female Democrats in particular are able to pull off, it's building into this kind of surge. And I don't think it's about Gretchen Whitmer, because as you point out, her name recognition is not high enough to be that far ahead of Bill Schuette at this point.
Obviously,
It really is
she's
just
got
this sort
some
of.
kind of message that's resonating with
I don't
people.
I'm
think
not
that's
sure
true at
that's
all.
true because what is that?
Yeah, because
Like,
she hasn't
what is
voiced
that
a message. I think this campaign here so far is all about Bill Schuette, whether you like him or don't like him, and by extension Donald Trump, because he has associated himself so closely with Donald Trump. That's what this race is all about. Gretchen Whitmer right now could be anybody, and I think there's probably a lot of Democrats who passed on that race are sitting there kicking themselves now, seeing the position she's in.
There is something going on in the way that people are responding to the president and the sort of high negatives that he has, but also this sense that you need different kinds of candidates and officials in place to get some of the things done that people
But
want
those are
done.
in Democratic.
And they
Those
don't have.
are in Democratic primaries.
They are.
We haven't tested whether that's
Right.
a broader electorate.
No question.
And some of these candidates Democrats are nominated. It's hard to see that they're going to have broad appeal once
Yeah, I
they
don't
get to
know.
the general.
I'm
won't
going to
know.
disagree a little bit with both of you in terms of you don't believe that she has the messaging that people are behind. I do think when she's talking about education, and those are the ads that I'm seeing a lot of, and talking about roads, infrastructure, that people do want to get on board with some kind of change there. So I do think it has to do a little bit with what the,
But that's
the
not
topics that she's
different.
talking
But that's
about.
not different than what Schuette is saying
No.
either, right? I mean,
There's no
she's not
substance
distinct from him
behind
there,
though.
is she?
Neither one of them have put any substance behind, oh, let's fix the roads, let's do education. In terms of drilling down into what they do, neither one of them have put much on the table.